Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Living Strong podcast, Unscripted. I'm your host, Peter Liciaga. I'm the author of Living a Strong Life. Now, just because we say unscripted doesn't mean we're wandering aimlessly. We've got a map. And we've got our North Star always shining bright. My mission is to dive deep into what it means to live strong mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. But I'm not alone on this journey. Today, I'm joined by a special co-host, my good friend, Chaz Scherer. Chaz, it's great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me and being part of this. Now, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about you and who you are, and then we'll go ahead and jump right on in with what we want to talk about.
Well, thanks, Peter, for that opening statement there. To let you all know, Peter and I, we worked on a short film together called Worth the Price many, many moons ago. And after that, I really got into the entertainment business in front of the camera a lot. And I went out off to Hollywood, and I got to work on a great amount of television shows and feature films. So, but I got to start working in the theater at a very young age, and I did voiceover work, and it kind of progressed from there. And I love to teach, and I love to discuss and talk about the industry and to help people in their lives to maintain what they want to do in their careers. So, thanks for having me, and I look forward to always seeing you.
We basically just threw this together, and we both love the fact that it's unscripted. So we really don't. We have some ideas of what we're going to talk about. So guys, we'll make sure that we stay on track. We're going to do our best not to ramble. If we do ramble, then hopefully it will be entertaining. But we connected. I think it was last week, right? You reached out to me.
That's right.
We got together. I think we were chatting probably about close to an hour, I believe, something like that.
It was about an hour, a little over an hour or so, yeah. And your busy schedule, that's hard to grasp,
Well, we were catching up because we hadn't seen each other for a while, so we were catching up. What was going on in California and what's going on the East Coast, and I'm thinking also, we got the SAG strike happening, and so
right.
So we've got a lot of things going on in the entertainment industry. You're in there, I'm in there, and so we're also both doing things to empower ourselves and live strong, but we also want to connect with other people. So you're the one that actually, asked the question. What was the question that you had asked me that really brought us to doing this Living Strong podcast?
Well, I was talking about, my disabilities and other people's disabilities, trying to figure out how we can get out there and talk about those types of things to, touch people's lives. Because with my Tourette's and my Ehlers-Danlos, it's been a struggle, throughout my entire life of 45 years now. Because, I was run over by a car on Labor Day back in 1983, and that caused my knees to pop out, dislocate whenever it wanted to. And I wanted to get a hold of you because I know, and I knew after all these years that you are such the motivator, and I try to motivate as well. And, to talk to you about when I was bullied when I was a kid, and how we could discuss that and try to figure out a way to touch base, and to communicate it with others throughout the world, and to try to help.
Yeah, I know the work that I've been doing, so some of you might know, those that don't know, that I've been teaching martial arts full-time since 1999. I started when I was 9, and so I'm 62 years old now, so we're talking about 53 years ago I started my journey in martial arts. But in 1999, when my wife and I decided to stop traveling around the world as performing artists, we were doing really well. We wanted to start a family. Decided to come back to New Jersey, live in Mount Laurel, and I decided to start martial arts. And I've been teaching since '99. And so a lot of things that came up during these decades in teaching martial arts was, first of all, self-defense, right? People want to learn self-defense, how to protect themselves, defend themselves against any potential danger. And so I also learned that there were people that had challenges like ADD, ADHD, Tourette's, and
Right.
Asperger's. All these things I never heard of. Gosh, all I wanted to do was teach kicks, punches, and little did I realize that I had to learn all these things so I can actually serve our community. And so, Chaz, when you shared with me topic and what you wanted to talk about, that was right up my alley, because right now my whole banner that I'm waving is about living strong, regardless of your physical attributes or your challenges, that having this mindset that I can live strong. And so
Right.
so I thought it was perfect. So I know through great challenges, I know from my own life, my own challenges in my life, what I came through, that's what really empowered me, knowing that I got through something and I got to the other side of it, that from that experience, I said, oh my gosh, I got through it. I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. And so, so have you started realizing that? Because I know when I got to about 50 years old, 55 years old, that's when I started getting really, really big epiphanies and, aha moments. I know when I was 36, I reflect back, 36 is when I had an aha moment. And then I got to about 45, 46, I had another aha moment. And then at 56, I had my biggest aha moment. And so
Really?
I'm looking forward to 66 giving me like a even greater aha moment. So what were some of your aha moments, and were they connected to some, what I would call, valley experiences?
I would say so. It's weird. Like I don't know. Did I tell you that my dad passed away back in
Yes, I
2010?
remember.
That was right. That was after you and I met for the first time. And when my dad passed away, my dad was a priest for 20 years. Okay, he ran and started the Newman Centers at Drexel University, Temple University, and Penn University. And he brought a lot, like, I've had my dreams about my dad. Like I remember a few years ago, I had a dream that my dad was driving our minivan at the time, years ago. And my mom was in the passenger seat and I was in the back, like, I'm a kid, and he's driving my mom and I in my dream. And then a few minutes later, he's like, son, this is all you now, and a second later, I'm in the driver's seat and my mom's in the passenger seat and my dad's in the back. And when my dad passed away, I don't know if I told you this part because this was like really serious to me. I was on the set of Glee. I did quite a few. I did like 3 episodes of the series, and I was getting ready for a scene, and I'm about to walk in and do my line, and I had a one-liner in an episode, and I walk in, and they have the air conditioner units on, on the sound stages, and they had the air conditioning on right before they shot the scene, and then they yelled quiet, and they said, all right, air conditioning off, and they shut it down, and we're about to run the scene, and director yells place back to 1 to some people, some of the background actors, and then he yelled action, and I'm walking in and I'm giving my line. And as soon as I'm giving my line, I felt a gust of wind go through me. And I didn't, I got goosebumps and everything up my arms and everything. And I didn't know what was going on at the time. And about, I'm going to say about, because it was a long day. It was like 14 hours on set. And it was about 7 or 8 p.m. or so at the studios, and I'm walking out to my car, and I get a phone call from my Uncle Jim, who's my dad's brother, and he just recently passed away. He passed away a year ago now.
Mm-hmm.
He calls me, and as I'm walking to the car, but I didn't answer at the time, and he left me a voicemail, and I listened to it when I got in my car, and he was very somber. Like, he was very down in his voice. But I didn't know, again, I didn't know the reasoning. But then I started realizing that something was going on, of course. And then my mom calls me about a minute later. And as soon as I picked up the phone for my mom, I said to my mom, "Dad passed away, didn't he?"
Mm.
And she said, "He did. How did you know?" I said, I felt him. I felt my dad run through me.
Wow.
Going to heaven. And it was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, my mom's like, "How did you feel it, Chaz?" But I didn't feel that. And I'm like, I don't know. But it was definite. And it was probably because I was out in California. I wasn't home. He was on hospice. I wasn't there because my dad gave me the, his word. He said his blessing. He said, "Chaz, you got to live your dream. You got to go out to Hollywood." But my dad was very adamant that that Hollywood has their evil side. But being a priest, he's like, "Oh yeah," But that got me. I was so that was 2010. I was, let's see, it's 2023. I just turned 45 just this past month. So do the math. I was let's see, that's 13 years ago.
Right.
So I was 32.
32, yeah.
I was 32.
Wow.
So that was probably my first or my second, just that feeling of I'm doing what I love to do. I'm passionate about it. I'm maturing. I know how to handle things better. And then I started picking up on all the old things, all the old phrases and sayings that my dad would put in my brain, you know what I mean, over the years. And he would say Age Quod Agis, which is my production company name, which means do what you're doing in Latin, because he would always say to me, "You got to get great at one thing, and then you can move on to the next. Focus on what you're trying to accomplish. Focus on that thing. Focus." And then when I got older, and my dad was, in his late 70s when he passed. He was 79. He had little tremors in his hands and stuff, and I never really put two and two together until I realized I think my dad probably had Tourette's just like me. But, my Uncle Jim passed away with blood and fluid on his brain, and he also had Parkinson's. So I don't know, if my dad had any Parkinson's in there, but he didn't have any dementia or anything. So he remembered everything, and, so. But that was an aha moment for me. Before then, I had a real big aha moment. I was, I was probably like 22, 23. I was auditioning for Broadway. I was in a touring company show of Cinderella, and I was traveling the country like you and Renee, your wife, and I came home from the tour. And I started working again at my mom's school, which is a special services school. It's for the disabled, for the autistic and disabled kids. And, I worked there for years before too. And that was like my side gig as I was an actor, like doing it and making it. And I was going to church every Sunday, and I was in the church choir, and I was in a concert. Like we traveled through the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, Delaware, and we did different concerts to raise money for the St. Vincent de Paul Society in the Catholic Church, which is to help the poor. And I'm doing this concert, and we're rehearsing, and it's our it's right before the show. And usually I'd have a choir behind me during this one classical number that I would do. And I'm singing, and I'm using sheet music, and there's a choir behind me, high school choir. And this one young man shouts out, "Why does he get to use his sheet music and we don't?" And I had such a big ego when I was 23. I turned around to this young man in a church, go figure, in a church, and I shouted back at him with a very bad curse word in it. And I was 23. And after that, I needed a break, and I took some time, and I started realizing that I got to cut my ego down a size. And that was like one of my first, big moments of, I need to understand and learn that I should have been a mentor to this young man, and I should have taken him aside and said, "Hey, I'm really sorry. I don't know why, I need my sheet music like this. Like, I don't know why I need the extra help sometimes, because when we did the concert, I knew everything. But again, a few years later, then I found out I had Tourette's.
Right.
And what people don't realize about Tourette's is it puts thousands of thoughts in your brain in a split moment. And people don't talk about that. They just talk about the cursing and the yelling and the tics and everything. But you got to understand, just someone could walk, in front of me, and for a second, when I'm supposed to be concentrating on something else, I'm looking at that person's hat that they're wearing and being like, "Ooh, yeah," the impulse control in my brain is saying, hey, they got a Phillies hat on, or they have an LA Dodgers hat on. Oh, that looks great. Like, I got to go get a hat like that. And it's just like with people with ADHD. It's the same thing. It's that little hyperactiveness that plays a part.
Yeah.
And I fumbled on words when I'm singing, and realized that I needed the sheet music in front of me. But if I took control and if I knew what I had back then, I would have been more of a mentor at those ages in my 20s.
It's amazing.
But I didn't end up start mentoring until I was about 20.
It's amazing. It's like, we learn these things as we get older, and what they say about that hindsight stuff. But
2020.
Because we look back on as all those moments, and so that's why for me it's great. I really do enjoy getting older, because I remember I forgot watch one of my favorite programs. It'll come to me. James Spader said, I believe it was James Spader that said this in one of my favorite TV shows. I don't really watch TV shows, but several years ago when this show came out, it'll come to me. But in the scene, he had this great quote, and I just love the quote. He says, They say that youth is wasted on the young, but I think they're wrong. I believe
Okay.
wisdom is wasted on the old, and I'll never forget that. And so I really do enjoy uh, having these years, stacking up my years and stacking up my experiences. And
Right.
and a lot of my students know, a lot of my clients know that I'm striving to live to 100, right? And so every day is one day closer. So if I'm 62, that means I have 38 years to 100. So how old are
I
you
think you'll
today?
make it.
Pardon
Yeah.
me?
I think you'll make it.
Yeah, well, you know what? Every year goes by,
Yeah.
that number gets smaller. So how old am I? I'm 38. Next year I'll be 37 to what? To
Right.
100. But what I love about that is now as I move forward to my years, which is a question I want to ask us and ask you guys out there that are watching. And if you want, just comment. If it's on YouTube, wherever you're watching, comment right below your answer. What are you doing? And Chaz, I want you to answer this question. I'll share a little bit what I'm doing. What are you doing to prepare for the next challenges in life? Because we know, stuff is going to happen. And
That's true.
I had, and
Always.
within 3 years, I remember Renee was doing a TV show, and she was out in California filming that. And during that time, my mom died, but I couldn't communicate with Renee about this. And so I'll never forget, it was one of the worst times of my life. And a couple of years after that, my dad died, then my grandfather died. Then within 3 years, they all passed away. But when my mom passed away, I didn't realize that I was going to go through the emotional, psychological, and physical, physiological. I remember I tried to go to work, I just couldn't work, and my partner would send me back home. It took me several weeks, and so this question I have as I move forward, and this is one thing I asked. I want to ask the audience and you, Chaz, this question is: what are you doing to prepare for your next challenge in life? What are you doing? For me, that's about living strong. So what is something
Yes.
that you're doing? What are some of your answers there? Because I know for me, it's reading, surrounding myself with the right people, communicating in all sorts of ways to get my thoughts. And for me, like doing this podcast, doing work, it's
Yeah.
it's therapy for me.
Definitely.
And when you go to my Facebook or you go anywhere I on my website, everything you see me putting out there, people say you're putting so much out there. That's my therapy. And this is
Right.
me expressing myself in the way that I can. And this is one way to make sure I am equipped and prepared for the next challenge, for
It's
mentally,
good.
emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, and physiologically. So what are some things that you're
Yes.
doing to prepare for that next challenge in your life?
That's a very good question. I am working on my mental health. That's number one. So for me, the mental health starts with meditation, prayer in the morning, relaxing a little bit more because you got to be able to, you got to take care of your mind, body, and soul, right? So because our body is our vessel. Now, for me, with my Tourette's, I started, which seems funny. Now there are medicines out there for Tourette's. It's psychopath, like it's psychotic medicine. I was on that kind of medication when I found out I had Tourette's, or when I was younger and they thought I had ADHD. Given those medicines, Peter, made me feel like a robot. I
Mm,
just sit there all day
mm,
with the TV on. If I had to go to work that day, I couldn't go. I'd be sitting there. They'd say, "Oh,
wow.
no, 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 we'll just work on the dosage. It's okay. We'll shrink the dosage up a little bit. You'll be fine. You'll be motivated and ready to go." Now, you see me today. I'm not on medication.
Right.
I'm not on anything. I'm a talker. I love to listen to
Mm,
you. I love listening to everybody. I am a go-getter, just like you.
mm,
And when you get that kind of medication, like I said, it really made me feel like a zombie.
wow.
Is the right word that I would
Right.
use all the time.
Wow.
Now, guess what I just started 3 months ago? It's a 90-day. It's for 90 days. It's supposed to last, but it doesn't. it helped me for about, I'm going to say, a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I got Botox.
Right.
Botox for my Tourette's.
Wow.
I get the needle,
Mm-hmm.
in my shoulders. It helped a lot. It helped me to refocus.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about for me. I can't get healthy. Like when COVID hit, I gained like my freshman 15 again.
Mm-hmm.
I gained my freshman 30. I stopped wanting to walk. I stopped exercising. I just wanted to sit down, lay down.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of guy I became.
Right.
And I started realizing that I needed to get healthy again.
Right.
So I'm trying to eat right.
Right.
I want to exercise as much as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
I want to lose the 30 pounds again. I want to be back to where I'm supposed to be, which is 130, like when you met me.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to focus on that mental health to make sure that the Tourette's doesn't win against me. Because when COVID hit, Tourette's won.
Mm-hmm.
My head's been shaking a lot more. I've been feeling more negative about things.
Right.
So that's how I need to get before I could ever get to that next level. Is my headspace and everything needs to be.
I know these days. I speak to every day. I speak to our families and our students. I'm fortunate enough where every day. At the end of the day, at 3 o'clock, I go to my karate school, and we have 210 students that represent families, and I meet with every single one that comes on any given day. I meet with them, and a couple of weeks ago, I really started getting to some great conversations with parents. And basically, trying to because they bring their child to our program, for various reasons. They want more focus, more discipline. Help my child. My child they need to learn how to control their anger. So some emotional management, some helping them to self-regulate. So we'll co-regulate so they can helping them. And so I started talking to the parents and asking them questions. And then I started asking this question, what do you do? Hey, what do you do to take care of yourself? Like, this idea of self-care, right? Doing things that you're going to, that are action that you maintain, deliberate actions that you take that are going to help maintain your mental health, your emotional health, physical health, self-care. What do you do purposefully to help you? And I ask parents, and you know what? None of them said they were doing anything deliberate, daily, for themselves, for self-care. And so this is where really got me to this huge. So I have a whole campaign. I have a workshop that I'll be doing. It's called Living Strong Parenting, where I'm going to talk about self-care. And of course, living strong mentally, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, and physiologically, because many of us are not doing it, and being deliberate about it, and having plans of actions that we are daily executing on. Like you mentioned, the meditation, and taking mindful moments, relaxing, exercising your body, whatever that looks like, resting your body, whatever that looks like. But there's being deliberate in that. And so this is one thing that's really something that, as I equip myself, and so for my next challenge in life, these are things that I'm doing. And so for me to lock that into place, I'm teaching it. So something I learned many, many years ago, where once you learn something, teach it, so that then you can internalize it. It becomes part of the fiber, and it's weaved into your character, into who you are. And so because I'm doing self-care for myself, from therapy to meditation to mindful moments to reaching out to people, talking in very in ways where I put myself out there, like this is out there. You guys out there in YouTube world or Facebook, you're seeing this right now. This is me. This is who you meet. And I'm being deliberate with this. because that's my way of taking care of myself by being genuine, transparent at a discerning in a discerning way. And so I think that's you talking about the things that you are working on is part of you taking care of you. And
Right.
I think adults, we parents, because you're parenting, and sometimes we say we got to put ourselves last and then put our kids first, whereas we have to be able to, in certain areas, put ourselves first. Like they say, when you're on the airplane, right, put the oxygen mask on you first before you put it on your child.
It's true.
But that's the same thing with our mental state, emotional state, our physical state. So we want to have what I call this energy for excellence, as often as possible. You're not going to have it 100% of the time, but
Right.
how do I set myself up for success more often than not, to have that energy for excellence, so that when and I'm going to say, when that shit hits the fan, when things get all screwed up in a moment, that you have what it takes to sustain yourself through those moments. And this is what the pandemic really exposed.
Yes.
In my industry,
Yes, it
in
did.
my martial arts industry, the pandemic exposed a lot of us instructors who were not living what we were teaching, and many of us quit, stepped out, and fortunate for those of us that did our best more often not to live what we taught, we're able to help the other students. And this is why now, my school now is a franchise. Now we're a whole bunch of other schools. But the self-care, taking deliberate actions to take care of yourself, is so much needed, and is a conversation that has to happen. Not only, with regards, you talk about Tourette's and your challenges, but there's other areas. Like right now, we did a great study on adverse experiences, what they call ACEs, for children who are misdiagnosed ADHD, because they are saying, well, this child has all this unfocused and erratic behavior because there's a chemical imbalancement, a neurological challenge, and they find it, if they do the tests that come with adverse experiences, they'll realize it's not neurological, it's not chemical, it's actually emotional. And so there's a lot of conversations that have to come up, but that takes self-reflection. And that starts with, okay, how do I take care of myself? What do I need to do? What's my mental state? What's my emotional state? What's my physical state? Now, what am I going to do about that? And so, so I think that's something that's really, which is why I waved that banner, and it came out of, this came out of me writing my book, Living a Strong Life. I just basically took areas of my life that were really life-changing moments in my life, and shared lessons that I learned from that I teach on the mats, and I teach my clients. And so then that's where I said, well, I need to start doing. That's why I turned into this Living Strong idea, the Living Strong campaign.
Nice.
So I thought I'd share that with you and share that with those of you that are listening out there.
That's good, because I've actually been trying, and again, it's hard with Tourette's to be able to sit still long enough to write a book. But my dad was an avid writer, poetry, wrote a lot in the newspapers, would do articles and stuff and send them in. And I was writing a book, and I still hope to finish it one day, but it's called No Excuses: How to Survive the Entertainment Industry. And it talks about, basically a day-by-day type of journal about how my life was out in the, in Hollywood, how I lived out of my car for quite some time, what other actors have done it that way, what kind of money you need to be able to survive out in Hollywood, because it's expensive, that you need to make your connections. You need a job before you get out there, how to get an agent, but like really secure an agent, I have so many stories to tell, and I want normal people to read that kind of book, because there's so many people, Peter, that we know that are the ones that work from 9 to 5. They work, they're electricians or whatever. They come home, they pop open a brewski, and they're trying to watch the Eagles game. They're trying to watch a football game, whatever. They, to me, are the normal people, the normies, you know? For me, for years, my main focus was always being on a film set or a TV series. And you know, so I've never really classified myself as the 9 to 5er ever. So I wanted a book that would really touch those types of people that are always like, how do they make it? How do they do it? How do they just keep going when they know they're failing? You know, how to survive, how to I just wanted to provide the right and valuable information to those types of people.
It's funny.
You know
it's funny. You just reminded me.
What's that?
Many years ago, and which is why I became one of the things I did was become a speaker. I had just finished the tour of the Starlight Express. I just finished getting off a national tour, and I was at the Equity Building in New York, on 46th Street, Actors Equity Building, and I was looking on the bulletin board, and there was a little wanted thing: actors are interested in speaking, and there was an appointment to go for an interview at the unemployment office. And so I said, okay, well, I'm an unemployed actor, and it sounds like it was a job. It was a paid gig. So I went, and so I did an interview, and they told me, they said, hey, look, and this was in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, I guess probably 89 going to 90. And they were laying off all the corporate workers who went from college right into the workforce, and they were in the workforce for like 20, 30 years. And all of a sudden now they were laid off. They were 50 and 60-year-olds, and they never knew how to interview for a job. And so anyway, they asked us actors to come on in. And this is what they said to me. They said, look, we know you guys are used to rejection. These people that are getting laid off have never been rejected. They came from college, went right into a workforce, went up the ladder, had all the
ready to retire.
They were let go. And they would go to an interview, and with their resume, blah, 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 and the person was saying, no, thank you. And they would go to deep depression and never go on.
Yes, they would.
They wanted us actors to come in and talk about what we do, when we are rejected. We get rejected sometimes several times a day.
Yes.
And I remember going, and I was hired. I had a partner, a female, and I remember going there. And here I am, this young actor. I was in my, for me, I was young. I was 26, 27 years old. And I remember standing in front, no formal education, because I'm a former street gang member. That's a whole other story. Had no formal education. So I walk into this conference room with probably about 20 or 30 senior, like people in suits, business people. And, and I had to talk to them about what I do to deal with rejection. And I'll never forget, after I introduced myself, how I went into a zone, and I wasn't playing really a role. I was being me for the first time, speaking as Peter Liciaga, and seeing their eyes light up and taking notes, from me, about me and what I was doing. And I said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so anyway, that set me on that course to, really becoming a speaker, and now doing all that I'm doing right now. That really set that in motion. Being me, I didn't have to play a role. I could be me and just bring value to people's lives. And so I want to encourage you to look at your book and expand. Maybe not write it down. What I would do is I created little short stories. I would type that out, or I would speak it. And of course, with the technology, I can have it transcribed and give it to someone else to then turn it into a story, and then put it out there. So also now you have all these little stories, chapters, and then put it all together and then put it out there. But I would start with stories, man. I would love to hear more of your stories. Like that one story you spoke about being on set when you felt, when the time you found out your dad had passed away, you were on set, the lights, and because many people who don't know the industry like we know it, they don't, because I know when I do a podcast, when I go live with someone, in my mind as a director, as a producer, as someone who's doing staging, audio and camera and DP stuff, all that goes through my head so that I could do a shot like this with audio, everything's cool. So, but no one realizes that. And then all of a sudden they have a bad video or audio. So little interesting stories, or getting to your mark. My kids used to love, like when you do shots tight close-ups with someone, and how close your face has to be with each other.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's an amazing. Yeah, exactly. The extreme close-up, please, and then get that. But as we, I want to wrap this up, and so what I want to do is I want to have you share with people out there, from your heart, what's the number one thing that someone could do in their day that would really, something might be very, very small, but it's powerful, that they can set themselves up for a positive, inspiring, and a successful day. And because for me, the morning is the key. You claim that morning, you own your morning, then you set yourself up to own your day. And so what's that one thing you think that you would suggest to people?
You know what, for me, I've never been really the morning person as much as you. Usually I'm a night owl.
Well, let me say this. It's the beginning of your day. I don't want to say morning, but that's true, because but the beginning of starting your day. Your day could be 6 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock. It doesn't matter. The moment someone gets up to start, it's the idea of starting your day when you start your day. How do you set?
Right.
So what would you suggest?
I suggest waking up, and I always say to myself, I say, thanks, Lord, for giving me another day. But I smile and I laugh, because all the problems are in the past.
Right.
This is a brand new day, and we're ready. We're ready to take it on. I used to give myself a pep talk every morning. You ever hear the song by James Blunt, You're Beautiful?
Yes.
I used to put that on and I'd start singing it.
Right.
Not to say it's not beautiful, but it's funny because it's such that love song, but it's to show and to make you feel good at that moment, to say, hey, look, it's a brand new day. Let's just go out and have fun.
I love it.
I now that I'm 45, I don't take things so seriously anymore. Like, I'm very light with a lot of things, and but I love just to wake up and I'll laugh and I'll just smile.
I love it. I
go out there and I'll smile at everyone I see. We're talkers, so I'll go around and I'll say hi to anyone, and I'll start a conversation up.
Right.
So you can. And that's what gets me going.
There's 4 things I wrote down that you said which I think are powerful. First, and I love the fact that you said wake up, and so wake up. Some people, and I'm thinking of this in the sense that some people will get up out of their bed, they'll go through whatever they go through in their day, and they have so little awareness and self-awareness or external awareness. They haven't waken up. So wake up. I love that. Wake up. So I have what we call your A game. Okay. It's awareness, assessment, and right appropriate action. So be aware and be alert. Wake up. I love that. It's one thing. Another, I love the idea of gratitude. Just be grateful. And then I love this.
Yes.
This is part of my morning routine as well, is smile. And I remember I taught that over the pandemic. I was doing a lot of teaching over the pandemic, and I did a whole little thing about smiling. When you get up in the morning, just smile. And that's what I do in every situation. If things are getting heated, I always put a smile on my face. I have a little corner. I do guided meditation. I have one person that just says, put a little smile at the corner of your mouth. and then you say, and I love your last thing is just simply enjoy your day. And so, and these are declarations. You're talking about being deliberate. So I love that, man. So I always try to find at least one thing that I get in every interaction, engagement.
Good.
That's my one thing that's got 4 parts from Chaz. I love it,
book.
Man. I love getting together with you. Anything else you want to share before we go ahead and say goodbye to everyone? Hey, if anyone wants to get a hold of you, I know you have a production company. Where can they find out more about you and your production company?
It's a little tough nowadays, just because of COVID.
Well, you know what? They can do this. They can reach out to you on social, right?
Yeah, absolutely they can.
On Facebook.
They can look up Ajay Quod Entertainment, AGEQUOD
right.
AGIS Entertainment.
Now you have it right here spelled out right below you, right?
What's that?
Is that what you have it spelled out right below you, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, on purpose.
Oh, awesome. Excellent. Yeah, and so
on IMDb, wherever.
Reach out to you, and so if they do reach out to you, and hey guys, make sure when you reach out to Chaz, let him know how you found out about him, okay? And then of course, guys, if you want to reach out to me, find out the work that I'm doing, just go to my websites right below, peterliciaga.com, and connect with me. And those of you that are parents, if you're interested in the Living Strong Parenting Workshop that I'll be doing, and you can go ahead and go to my website, click the RSVP. If you are not in town, I will have it recorded. So if you want that, it's 100% free. That's my way of just giving back to my community. And so, which actually rhymes, free to the community. Anyway, peterliciaga.com. Other than that, Chaz, man, what's one last thing you want to share with everyone? I'll give you the last word before we say, see ya.
Well, I'm trying to become a public speaker more as well. And I want to talk about mental health and disabilities and let people know that the ones that struggle with it but aren't seen in public as people with disabilities like me. I can walk down the street and no one knows I have a disability unless I tell them.
Well, you just right now you are speaking publicly, and you were letting people know about your cause, and you just reminded people that know that everyone is going through something. And that's something that I teach my instructors as well. Whenever somebody comes into our environment, know, like you, they have stuff going on. They are going through a challenge or coming out of a challenge or getting ready to go into a challenge. So please keep that in mind. Empathy, compassion, consideration, and that's the best way for us to express love to each other. So so I appreciate you, Chaz. And so
appreciate you too,
guys. We're going to go ahead and sign off right now. But Chaz, don't jump off yet. You and I are going to go off camera and just continue a little bit. But everyone, again, right below, depending on where you watch this, whether it's on my Facebook, on my socials, on YouTube, or on my website, comment right below. Any more information, let us know. If you want to get a hold of Chaz, you can reach out to me. And I'll give you guys, all the information that you want. All right. Other than that, we're going to sign off. And have a great day. God bless all of you. And remember,
God bless you all.
Take care.
Take care.